what if the next global ruler isn't who you think? China's booming economy, Russia's military aggression, and America's fading dominance are all crashing into each other, but only one will come out on top. In the past, global power was easy to identify. The British Empire ruled the seas. The United States took over with nuclear firepower and tech innovation. But now, the crown is wobbling. We're living through one of the most intense power struggles in modern history, a three-way collision between the old guard and two rising giants. The world isn't waiting for 2035 to decide who's in charge. The groundwork is being laid right now. China, once dismissed as a cheap manufacturing hub, is now buying influence across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, not with tanks, but with highways, ports, and AI. Russia, bruised and isolated, is still fighting, not just in Ukraine, but across the digital battlefield and energy markets. It's trying to reshape the global order in its image. The United States, the reigning champion, is bleeding from within, divided, distracted, but still the most technologically advanced nation in history. Every investment deal, military base, and cyber attack is part of the same silent war, the race to rule the world by 2035. But what's happening behind closed doors might completely change who wins this race. It started with a number, one that sent shockwaves through global markets. In 2010, China overtook Japan to become the world's second-largest economy. A quiet move, but one that changed everything. It wasn't just about GDP, it was about ambition. Over the next decade, China stopped playing by Western rules and began rewriting them. While American politicians debated budgets, China launched the Belt and Road Initiative, building infrastructure in over 60 countries. Ports in Pakistan, railroads in Africa, highways in Central Asia. It wasn't aid, it was investment with strings attached. And then came the tech push. Huawei began selling 5G infrastructure to Europe. TikTok invaded American phones. Chinese EVs started outperforming Tesla in Latin markets, all while Beijing poured billions into AI, semiconductors, and quantum computing. But China's most powerful weapon isn't hardware, it's population. 1.4 billion people, increasingly educated, digitally connected, and nationalistic. It's a civilization state on a mission, one that thinks in centuries, not election cycles. Xi Jinping's grip over the Communist Party has never been tighter. Surveillance tech monitors cities 24/7. Dissent? Censored before it trends. And while the West argues about Twitter bans, China is using facial recognition to build what many call a digital prison. But even giants have weak spots. Behind the shiny skyline of Shanghai, something else is happening, a demographic time bomb. China's birth rate is plummeting. The youth unemployment rate quietly hit over 20% in 2023. Ghost cities fill the interior and the property market is wobbling. And the West? It's waking up. The US banned advanced chips from reaching Chinese firms. European leaders are rethinking trade dependencies. And Taiwan, the tiny island where the world's semiconductors are made, could become the flashpoint for the next global war. Yet while China rises, one unexpected weakness could bring it all crashing down. Russia doesn't build with roads and railways. It builds with bombs. February 24, 2022. The day Russia invaded Ukraine wasn't just a territorial grab. It was a declaration, a message to the world, we're not done yet. That single move rewired the power grid of Europe. Gas prices exploded, NATO expanded, and Russia, far from being pushed into a corner, tightened alliances elsewhere: Iran, China, North Korea. The old Cold War map cracked open, and something new began to rise. But look deeper, and you'll see a contradiction. Russia has the largest nuclear arsenal in the world. Its army is feared. Its influence in Syria, Africa, and the Balkans is undeniable. And yet, its economy is smaller than Canada's. Sanctions bit hard, the ruble crashed, Western brands fled overnight, and while Putin thunders about sovereignty, hundreds of thousands of young Russians quietly fled the country, taking their talents with them. So what keeps Russia in the game? Energy. Europe may want clean power, but winter still runs on Russian gas. Pipelines to Germany, covert deals in the Middle East, and new BRICS energy routes mean that even if you hate Moscow, you still need its oil. And speaking of BRICS, Russia's influence in this economic alliance is growing fast. Brazil, India, China, and South Africa are now joined by Iran, Saudi Arabia, and more. Their mission? End the dollar's dominance. Through alternative banking systems, new trade deals, and digital currency experiments, Russia is betting that global power doesn't need to be American anymore. But this might be a bluff. Internally, Russia is cracking. The economy is held together with oil and propaganda. Tech innovation is lagging. And the war in Ukraine? It's costing billions, with no end in sight. But Russia's biggest threat might not be NATO. It might be its own economy. For nearly a century, the United States has been the undisputed global superpower, a title earned not just with firepower, but with influence. From Hollywood to Harvard, from Silicon Valley to Wall Street, the American brand has touched every corner of the planet. Its military bases surround the globe. The dollar is still the reserve currency. And English, well, it's practically the language of the internet. But empires don't crumble overnight. They rot from within. As the United States enters this new phase of global competition, it's carrying serious baggage. Inflation has shaken consumer confidence. Political division has reached a boiling point. Mass shootings, media wars, and a Capitol riot broadcast live to the world. All of it paints a picture of a nation fighting itself more than any foreign enemy. And yet, here's the twist. America is still outrageously dominant in the most important arenas. Tech, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, no one comes close. Military, the United States Navy has more aircraft carriers than the rest of the world combined. Influence? Think Netflix, McDonald's, Instagram, Beyoncé. And let's not forget the secret weapon soft power. While Russia uses tanks and China uses trade, America uses culture. Rap music in Paris, NBA jerseys in Tokyo, Marvel movies in Nigeria. That's not accidental, it's strategic. But cracks are forming. The national debt has soared past $34 trillion. Gen Z is more skeptical of patriotism than any generation before it. Allies like France, India, and even Germany are beginning to question whether the US will always lead, or if it's becoming unreliable. Then there's China and Russia's joint strategy. Undermine the dollar, isolate the West, and build an alternative world order that doesn't depend on Washington. And here's where it gets chilling. They're succeeding. In 2024, over 20 countries began trading oil without using the dollar. Saudi Arabia joined BRICS, and whispers of a new digital currency backed by gold are starting to spook US financial analysts. The American empire isn't gone, but it's being tested in ways it hasn't seen in generations. Here's where the real twist begins. One of these three just formed a secret pact that could flip the global order. Global domination used to require armies. Now it requires algorithms. The 2020s ushered in a new kind of war, fought in firewalls, trade agreements, and TikTok trends. And in this shadowy battlefield, each of the three superpowers is playing a very different game. China is buying loyalty. In Africa, they're building stadiums and hospitals. In Latin America, they're offering interest-free loans. Their goal? Bind as many countries to Beijing's orbit as possible, not through conquest, but through codependence. Russia is disrupting the status quo, cyber attacks on US pipelines, disinformation campaigns during elections, military advisors in unstable regions. Every move is designed to make the West look weak and divided. The US, meanwhile, is trying to hold the line, strengthening NATO, hosting diplomatic summits, but also weaponizing trade, banning Chinese chips, blacklisting Russian banks, and threatening sanctions on any country that steps out of line. The result? A fractured planet. In 2025, a leaked intelligence report, confirmed by multiple sources, revealed that the Pentagon had quietly identified a red bloc economic corridor stretching from Beijing to Moscow, through Tehran, into Africa. It's not just theory. Billions in trade are already flowing through it, bypassing Western banks entirely. Even more disturbing, several U.S. allies are hedging their bets. Countries like Turkey, India, and Brazil are strengthening ties with both East and West, waiting to see who emerges strongest before pledging full allegiance. And in cyberspace, the lines are already drawn. China has its own internet. Russia censors Western media. The United States dominates cloud infrastructure. But every day, hackers breach deeper. In 2026, an AI-generated deepfake caused a temporary crash on Wall Street, costing trillions before it was corrected. This isn't Cold War 2.0. It's more chaotic, more invisible, and far more dangerous. And now, new data shows one superpower may already be pulling ahead. So, who's actually winning? Let's break it down. China is outpacing the West in infrastructure development, electric vehicles, and green energy investments. The United States still leads in tech financial markets and productivity. Russia is surviving, barely, through energy exports and BRICS deals, but sanctions continue to bite. The United States has the edge in air and naval dominance, not to mention global base presence. Russia remains dangerous with its nuclear arsenal and battlefield experience. China is expanding its navy rapidly, and reportedly has hypersonic weapons the United States does not. The United States still owns the cultural narrative, but it's slipping. China is winning hearts and minds in the developing world. Russia thrives on instability. Where chaos grows, so does its reach. But here's the real truth. There's no clear winner, yet. Every move made in this race is pushing the world toward a new equilibrium, one where power is decentralized, alliances are fluid, and the future is anything but predictable. The empire of the future may not look like the ones we've known. It might not even be a single country. It could be an economic network, a digital alliance, a technological monopoly. What's certain? The next decade will decide everything. The winner of this race won't just lead the world, they'll control its future. So, who do you think will rise to the top? China, Russia, or the United States? Comment below, because no matter where you live, the outcome of this power struggle will affect your life, your job, and your future. And remember, this story is still being written.